Hi everyone. My name is Jerry Wise, and this video is about the struggle with honoring your father and your mother. This injunction is a part of Judeo-Christian Western civilization. There's also some, I believe, biochemical relationship connection that we have with our parents and our family that is very, very strong. And that gets lived out in these type of injunctions. But what do you do when your parent is like Darth Vader? What do you do when your parent is abusive, harmful, or narcissistic parents? What do we do with the honor of your father and your mother? Many of you don't have any trouble with that. You might go, I don't care, and it doesn't matter to me. There are many people that I've also worked with over the years who do struggle with that. And what is a healthy balance? Well, I'd like to talk about a healthy balance even with abusive or harmful parents. So what do we do when we have Darth Vader parents? I don't think that injunction that is in society, honor your father and your mother, requires slavish obedience. And I even question whether obedience is even necessary or appropriate when we're talking about adults. I think at that point, we have to use respect and persuasion versus obedience. And I believe if parents even have to invoke this injunction, which many parents do, and those of you who grew up in spiritual or religious homes, Jewish, Muslim, Christian, you may have heard that, hey, well, you need to honor your father and your mother. Or why aren't you honoring your father and your mother? And I believe that if parents must invoke this, then they're probably already wrong. Because you don't have to invoke that if you're in a right relationship or a good relationship with your children, adult or minors. It ends up being spiritual or positional bullying. Again, I'm your mother. Haven't you heard that? I'm your father. It's the same thing. Honor your father and your mother comes out in other ways, in a secular way. Well, I'm your father. Well, I'm your mother. Like there's an assumption that just because you hold that position or birth position, that somehow I owe you, and I even owe you when I don't agree with it or don't want to. And I think so many people, do we honor this bullying even if they ask you to do wrong? Secondly, well then how would we honor our father and mother? How can we appropriately honor our father and mother when they are like Darth Vader? And I believe that we can. Number one, or A, accept them the way they are. That is honoring someone if you accept them the way they are. That's the way they are. That's the way they have chosen to live their life. Or they may be broken, and so they live their lives that way as narcissists or any other type of toxic parent. Seeing them as fellow human beings. I don't care how evil, they're still human beings. See them as broken and handicapped and not well. Accept their right to exist as narcissistic, and that they have to endure their own consequences of that not wellness. You don't have to endure those, they have to endure those. And most importantly, we want to stop judging, blaming, and criticizing them, which only keeps us continually enmeshed to them. And I think that's another way to honor them, is to get out of the enmeshment. And that we do stay in the enmeshment when we stay in those more, what I would consider less than adult states, emotional states of blaming, judging, criticizing. I really think that causes us a lot of problems. I also believe that we can choose a limited, boundaried option. There's a difference between truth-telling about the narcissistic parent versus blaming, shaming, and hating. I'm not telling anyone not to tell the truth about their childhood with their narcissistic parent. Or if somebody says, why are you not talking to your parent anymore? Of course, I'm always curious as why do they want to know? I mean, and they may genuinely want to know or are confused because they've been in a relationship with you and their parents, let's say. So they may ask you. And then we can appropriately do truth-telling, which is, well, hey, we have struggles within our relationship. And quite honestly, my belief is that dad is not well. And so it's very difficult to maintain a relationship with him. I don't think that's blaming, shaming, and hating. I think that's just simply truth-telling. And you can have your opinion, and that's okay. So when we accept them as they are, then we must choose limited boundaried options. We honor people by accepting and not blaming, by not bashing, by not hating. But it does not mean we must obey their darkness, obey their lies, become slaves to them, accept their abusive way of interacting with us. We don't have to do that, certainly. But I think we do have to accept they are not well and they are human beings. They are broken human beings for sure, and may never seek help for the brokenness that they have. Thirdly, I understand you may not be done with hating, blaming, and shaming them. I certainly wasn't. You're only ready when you're ready. And I'm not here to even stop you from doing that. I understand trauma that you've been through, the pain and struggle. Hating, blaming, and shaming is not an unusual or wanting justice. It's not an unhuman reaction. So I'm not here to stop you. Just remember, these emotional states hurt you more than they hurt them. And I think that's the important message. If you get nothing out of today's video, that would be important. Honoring mother and father is not hating, not blaming, not shaming. But truth-telling is okay. And again, we're talking about the Darth Vader type of parents. One of the things I might recommend is I do have an online program that I would suggest if you want to learn to hate less, blame less, criticize less, shame less of anyone. I think the online program I have listed down below in the description could be of help to you and also help you get beyond narcissistic abuse and begin a real recovery and healing from that. Here are some assumptions that I began to realize as I got older. My parent was born and raised broken. This brokenness was traumatizing for me as a child growing up. I cannot use normal societal rules for relating to my parents. Out of necessity, I cannot do that because they are not well. I can honor them by seeing and accepting them as broken human beings. And then second of all, I never have to lie about what kind of parent they were. I choose to move past their toxic influence on me by stopping blaming, shaming, enrage, and criticizing. I will adjust my relationship with them through boundaries and limitations, even to the point of no contact. I have experienced and seen what blaming, hating, castigating, and demonizing the Darth Vader parent has done to people. It becomes an extension of the abuse. And it keeps the abuse going within the family and within us internally. I am not saying you have not been traumatized. painfully used and treated abhorrently. And if we're not ready to make that step, don't. You have to go through that. I'm hoping that at some point we can begin to get that out of us. I want to thank you for watching. Have a great day and be wise.